everybody, my name's Julia from Bobbins and Buttons, and today I'm going to show you how to draft a simple slant pocket for a skirt or trouser pattern that has no pockets. The idea of this really came from one of my customers who'd watched the Joseph Jogger sew along and been inspired to try adding a pocket to her own trousers. So I thought it'd make quite a useful little tutorial, because we all love pockets, don't we? So let me show you how to draft a simple pocket. So just before I start, I wanted to mention that you will need a ruler with a right angle and ideally with a curve. I like to use this Pattern Master, but there's lots of different rulers available. The other thing is I'm going to use a thick felt pen to make the pattern, but I'd recommend that you use a fine sharp pencil, because accuracy is quite important when you're doing pattern cutting. So I've traced around a lady's front shorts pattern piece so that it fits into the frame, and you can see what I'm doing. And I've also drawn in the grain line. So the first thing we need to do is to decide where our pocket's going to go. So we need to draw an angled line from the side seam to the upper front edge. There's two ways you can do this. You can either look for a pattern that's already got a pocket opening like this, and you can take the measurements from that opening and just draw it onto your pattern piece, or you can use your own hand to measure where you think the opening would be the right size. So bear in mind you've got seam allowances. On this pattern it's 1.5 seam allowance around the side, so you can also mark those seam allowances in if it helps you visualise how it's going to look. So I'm going to say that I think that's around about the right size for my pocket, and I'm going to draw that in. But I would recommend making a toile if you're not sure about the size. So now we've got our angle drawn, we need to bring in a piece of paper to retrace our pattern piece. So I'm going to lay the ruler on it to hold it in place, and I'm going to redraw around the side and the upper edge. The other thing we also need to do is mark in the grain line. And because this is a shorts pattern, my ruler runs right off the edge of the pattern piece, so I'm going to mark top and bottom, and then I'm going to remove the pattern piece and draw that in. But if it doesn't, you can also use a tracing wheel, which has little makes little perforations through the paper. So I'm just going to draw that grain line in. Now the next thing we need to decide is how deep you want the pocket, and again you could use an existing pattern piece or you could use your hand. So I like a nice deep pocket, so I'm going to say I want it to finish about there, and I want to take it out quite wide. So I'm just going to put a small mark here to remind me of those measurements. And then this is where this shape doesn't matter too much, but obviously it usually rounds round. You can do a square across if you want, but you can be a bit creative here. So I'm going to draw my line here and draw a line across here, and then I'm just going to curve this edge. So you can use the edge of the ruler to tidy that up and make that nice and neat. So now that's your pocket back, and we're going to cut that out to create your pocket bag, which is the front piece. So you've got your grain line there matched up with the grain of the front of the shorts. So there we go, that's what our pocket back is looking like. So we've got the nicely matched up side seam and top seam. So now I'm going to cut away this, and like I said, I've included the seam allowance in here. You will need to, if you haven't included seam allowance, you will need to retrace and add your seam allowance, but I think it's a little bit easier if you just keep it on at this point. So there's your pocket back and pocket and the front of your shorts. So now all we need to do is to create the piece, the pocket bag that goes here. So I'm going to bring in this piece of paper again and retrace our pocket back. And then we want to draw in that grain line again. So because the ruler goes right off the edge, I can just mark that. Place that underneath. So now we've got a duplicate of this, and all we need to do to create the pocket bag is lay the front on top and redraw that line. And there we have it, all the 3 pieces you need to create your pocket. So when you stitch it, you'll stitch across this seam first and turn that to the back. And then you'll bring in your pocket back and stitch around the seam here. And then you'll hold all 3 together at the top and the side seam to finish constructing your shorts or trousers or skirt. So I hope you found that useful and enjoyed that tutorial. If you'd like to see some more tutorials, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.